So if it wasn't enough that doctors always gaslight me, now I'm getting gaslit by scheduling people and receptionists too. So I scheduled a sleep study for this past Saturday, and I didn't get instructions for it. So I called Saturday morning, asked for directions, and they left me a voicemail. I'm going to show you guys the voicemail here. I have visual voicemail on my phone. All right, so you can see here's my voicemail. It said, it says Shannon voice. They meant voice, but sometimes the visual voicemail doesn't get it right. But it says instructions for tonight. Arrive between 9 and 9:15, and all the instructions of everything I need to do. Ring the doorbell. They'll come out and get you. Blah blah blah. So I get to the sleep center at 9 o'clock, and I follow the directions. I ring the bell, and no one comes. So I stand there for like 10 minutes. I'm like, they said 9:15. Like maybe someone's just not here yet. Whatever. So in this time frame, I've rang the bell, a handful of times. So I call the on-call number because I'm like, why is nobody coming to the door? And so on call, I call them, and they were like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. It says you called this morning. They left you a voicemail with your directions, this, that, and the other. And they said that if no one comes to the door, to call this phone number. And they rattle off this cell phone number for me. So I write it down and I call the phone number. So I call this number like 4 or 5 times. Nobody picks up. I ring the doorbell another, maybe like 5 times. Nobody comes. Everything's still dark. So I call back the on-call, and she's like, that's really weird. Let me see if I can get a hold of a doctor for you. So I was like, okay, I guess, like, whatever. So I'm still sitting there. She's like, hang tight. Maybe someone's just running late, whatever. So I sit there for probably like 45 minutes. And at this point, I'm like, what is going on? No one's called me back. So I call the on-call number again. And then she starts asking me, like, are you sure you're at the right location? I didn't even know there was another location. So I Google it. And I literally drove all the way to the other location, which was like probably 30 minutes away. And there's also no one at that location. So I called the on-call number back again, and I was like, look, I'm going home. Like, no one's here. At this point, it's like 10:30, 10:45 at night. Like, why am I out on a Saturday night doing this? And, why? Like, I was just pissed. So they were like, we're going to have someone call you back. Like, we put it in as an emergency. The on-call doctor will call you back, let you know what's going on, this, that, and the other. Bullshit. That was Saturday night. It is 4 p.m. on Monday, and I just called them because I didn't want to go through the whole working day, too, without them saying or doing anything. So I called. They transfer me to somebody for scheduling, and I tell her what happened. And it's like definitely the lady that had scheduled my appointment, and she was like, oh, your appointment's this coming Saturday. It wasn't last Saturday. And I was like, that's funny because, like, I had scheduled it when I was in the office returning my like home sleep study stuff. Or no, sorry, it was my appointment that I was scheduling it after. So I scheduled it in person, and I remember her saying, like, can you do it this Saturday? Because, it was only like 3 days later, and I was like, yeah, I just want to get it over with. So she's telling me, like, well, it's in here for next Saturday. Like, it wasn't last Saturday. But then she's like looking at it, and she's like, no, like, I remember scheduling that. So she was like, okay, like, I'm going to talk to whoever. I'm not sure who changed this, but like, can you come this Saturday? And I'm like, I mean, I guess, like, what choice do I have at this point? We can't go back in time. But like, I had it in the calendar on my phone. I have a voicemail from them, that says it's on Saturday, and it says your instructions for tonight. So like, did somebody just not want to work and they just decided to change my appointment? But it's like, you would just think like they gave me a number to call. Like, I called it probably a dozen times, and like at some point, like, somebody has that phone. They said it's like a cell phone that goes between the different sleep centers or whatever. So it's like somebody has to have the phone, but there was no voicemail set up. But at some point you'd think like they'd see the same number, call them a dozen times, and be like, hey, like, no one's at work. Like, it was ringing. Somebody had it and it was ringing. And nobody answered. Whatever doctor was on call never called me back. So, like, the last thing they had really said to me, had I have not decided to go home on my own, was, like, to hang tight and that they were going to get information for me. So I wasted almost 2 hours of my Saturday night that I could have been, recording content or cleaning up or just spending time with my family because I was supposed to have a sleep study. And yeah, now I have to go do it this weekend instead and waste my time because, like, what the heck? So I made them take down my email so they can send me instructions again so I can have it in writing again. And, like, they can't, try to gaslight me and tell me I'm wrong. I'm like, I literally have the voicemail from you guys saying your instructions for tonight. And you're telling me that it's next week. Like, what? So frustrated right now. So frustrated. I've spent all day on the phone with, like, doctor's appointments. I had to schedule an EEG. Like, I don't have time to be gaslit and told that my appointment's a different day. Like, for once I wrote it down. So mad.